America is one of the most sports-focused nations in the world, but have you ever wondered if sports are really that healthy for youth? When you combine factors such as overly competitiveness, sports injuries, and financial costs, competitive sports don't really have a positive impact on youth. The first thing people think of when they think of sports is how competitive people get. So let's start with being overly competitive. When a student starts to play sports, the first thing he realizes is how much pressure people put into winning. According to Marquand, overzealous parents can cause serious issues for their child if they push them into a higher level of success than the child is ready for. The child starts to resent their parents and or the coach and fear they will fail the expectations put upon them. Once the game begins, these mature, sensible, clear-thinking adults are transformed into out-of-control fanatic parents. Suddenly they become loud, negative, degrading, and disruptive. According to Westminster, young athletes may feel undue pressure from parents, coaches, or other players to compete in sports they are not interested in pursuing. Additionally, children may place excessive amounts of pressure on themselves to perform at a level they are not comfortable with. Participation in sports may then lead to a higher level of day-to-day stress that impacts other aspects of their life, such as sleep or school. They also start to realize that people put sports over academics. According to Ripley, there was a school in Texas where the school was going bankrupt because they focused too much on sports and not enough on the academics. A guy had to be called in that got rid of all the sports in the school. They were spending $150,000 on all sports, and he completely cut sports out of the picture. After a year without sports, the school got back on track, got out of debt, and everyone was more focused on academics, which is where they need to be focused on. Now also, you start to put pressure on themselves. Whenever they start playing sports, the children start doubting their own abilities, and this affects their self-image. They don't know if they're good enough to be on the team, if they're good enough to play at all, and this is because of how much pressure they put on themselves. Although being overly competitive is bad, being injured is even worse. When children start playing sports, injuries happen all the time, and sometimes these injuries can be permanent. Sometimes the players will fall or get hit in the head, and they'll have concussions that will last a while. And also, whenever they break a bone, it might not heal properly. Now, not only are some of them permanent, but sometimes the students don't allow them to heal. According to Ryan, a hasty return to sport with incomplete rehabilitation can result in chronic pain, dysfunction, increased time away from sport, and repeated injury to the same or different body parts. I myself have a friend who hurt himself playing football, and instead of getting the help he needed, he just continued to play on his injured knee until it got worse and worse. He didn't allow it to heal because he wanted to keep playing for both himself, the coach, and his team. Now, not only do they not allow them to heal, but they also overuse that injured limb, ligament, anything, whatever they injured. According to Gould, overuse injuries are more common than acute injuries at around 30 to 50% of all injuries. Some people start to specialize kids, and this allows them to reuse the same muscles over and over and over again. And that much use of the same part can cause an injury to it. Now, most people just focus on the injuries and the competitiveness of sports, but what most don't realize is that sports actually cost a lot of money. According to youth sports injuries cost $448 million per year in 2001. Now that's a lot of money for injuries that could have been prevented in the first place. Now, not only do medical costs cost a lot, but travel costs. Whenever schools travel for sports teams, they have to pay for the bus, the gas, substitute teachers, and also meal plans. Not to mention how much it costs to get to play the game in the first place. Not only with the travel cost, but you also have the cost for the equipment. You have helmets and pads for football, suits for every team, baseball bats, softballs, baseballs, tennis rackets, tennis balls. All of this needs to be paid for, and it costs a lot of money, not just to the schools, but to the parents and children who have to help pay for it. Now, when you combine overly competitiveness, sports injuries, and financial costs, you often wonder if competitive sports are really good for youth. Thank you.